Greetings, citizens! Failure to Report here, and today we're going to be looking at Star Citizen's flagship feature of Update 3.2, and that is, of course, mining. For those of you unfamiliar with Star Citizen's development, I call mining a flagship feature of 3.2 because it is one of two major core game mechanics besides combat, which has been added since 2012. The other, of course, being cargo hauling, which was introduced in Update 3.0. So, I've had a lot of people ask me to do videos more in line with my older content where I would objectively look at elements of Star Citizen, talk about them both in terms of what they did well, while also not sugarcoating what CIG did bad. This video is going to be kind of more in line with older Failure to Report videos. I know there's some of you out there who still follow the channel, you're still subbed, but you're also still backers of the game and you still hope Star Citizen manages to pull off everything that it's promised you. And if you put up with my non-stop salt mine that I've been running since 3.0, I feel like you probably deserve at least one serious attempt at covering this game now and then, so this is going to be that. So I'm going to be looking at mining in Star Citizen by going down a pretty simple as hell checklist, recalling my experience with it and then giving it a quick pass-fail type grade. I may go into further depth with certain items a little later, but I'm going to try and keep this video under 10 minutes if at all possible, because it's a lot of work for someone as unhinged as me to be polite for that long, especially when I don't take my meds and I get angry. So, the first item on Failure's checklist to good game mechanic, is it new player friendly? Now, some people are going to argue this shouldn't apply for two different reasons. One camp is going to say, oh, but mining is a specific role requiring a specific type of ship. New players aren't going to be doing that. And another camp is going to be saying, ha ha ha, new player friendly, this ship costs $155 fucking dollars. I hear both of you guys. But that said, there will be backers out there who are only interested in mining, or they have a little pocket prospector specifically for mining to fund their other ships. So it's a completely plausible idea that someone's first time in Star Citizen is going to be mining. So if mining is a mess for a new player, it's an issue with the gameplay loop to me. So that's my perspective on that. Carrying on. Now, I specifically started off mining without reading any information on the forums, Reddit, or watching any guides online. I knew fuck all besides going through my keybinds while resetting my controls for the PTU and noticing things like mining mode and scanning mode. I wanted to make sure I took those first brave steps into mining as cluelessly as possible. I had some pretty flawless footage of my first time mining, but I evidently deleted it when I was dumping old recordings, so it's all gone now. I am, however, happy to report, much to my disbelief, that figuring out how to mine in Star Citizen is pretty damn simple. You take your totally not a flying dildo 2000 down to a planet surface or to an asteroid field, and then you press your binding for scanning mode. This mode will set out a pulse which scans for resources in your area. Boom! We now have a target for the TNAFD 2000 to go spam hammer. Okay, it's a little more in-depth than that. Once you've identified a proper resource node, you're going to switch from scanning mode over to mining mode, where you'll start off in fracture. This setting is used to split big rocks into little rocks. It sounds straightforward, but there's a little more depth to it than that. And by a little more depth, I mean there's a goddamn minigame to it. So the first process of mining is based on amplifying or reducing your fracturing laser to stay within the green fracture zone of the rock you're attempting to break open. If you drop under the sweet spot, you're doing fuck all to the rock, and if you go over it, you start overcharging the rock. Overcharging is bad. You can reduce overcharging by cutting power and letting the rock cool, or you can YOLO and race the fracture gauge, which is how any true miner would do it, obviously. Once you maintain the sweet spot until the fracture reaches 100%, the targeted chunk will break up into smaller chunks. Depending on the starting size of the rock, you might be repeating the process you just did. Orange highlights mean fracture, purple means you've broken the big rock into small enough rocks to collect. Collecting your sweet haul in Star Citizen means right-clicking the mining mode to change your mining beam's fire mode from fracture to collection. Boom. Guess who sucks now? You do. You suck lots of chunks. So, was mining easy for a new player? I think yeah. Discounting the whole it's not a starter ship and its entry price is $155, it's really pretty easy to piece together how mining works with absolutely no outside help at all. Green on the minigame is good. Red, bad. Orange laser for the orange highlighted rocks. Purple laser for the little purple rocks. So I think it's pretty fair that we can go ahead and check this one off that yes, Star Citizen mining meets this requirement. So for the next box I want to look at with the mining is the mechanic fun? I was going to make this video after my first 2 or 3 hours of mining I did a couple days ago when I first got the original footage that I deleted like a fucking idiot. But because I ended up deleting the footage I had from that day, I had to go back and grab some more. And I'm really glad that I messed that up because it meant spending more time mining. And I really feel like I might have screwed that box up if I had just answered it based off of the first time I went off mining. When I first tried mining in 3.2, I honestly thought the mechanic was really cool. I enjoyed the idea of scanning to find resource nodes, then specifically scanning those nodes to find their material makeup, and then fracturing these rocks into small enough rocks that I could then harvest them. It felt new and interesting, and I was totally prepared to say something ignorant like, mining in Star Citizen is really fun. I think one of the big problems Star Citizen has in terms of game design is that things come to backers in such a slow trickle that backers are just desperately grateful for anything new to do. Cargo hauling, for instance, in-game, feels incredibly shallow. There's no incentive for me to say have a buddy in my Cutlass hauling boxes of poop around because he doesn't get a cut of our hauling profits. He can't purchase items to fill my ship's hold for the space I have left over from whatever I was able to purchase. So it's largely just more do-it-yourself type gameplay that, despite adding multi-crew years ago, leaves cargo hauling with a lot to be desired. And even with these off the top of my head faults, of which I'm sure others can name more, backers were overjoyed when Star Citizen received cargo hauling. People celebrated that mechanic's introduction like it was the funnest thing they've ever done since they figured out how to tug at their fucking peckers. So it's my opinion that mining in Star Citizen kind of is going to fall under the same rose dick tugging glasses. It's absolutely something new and fun to do if you've been bored with Star Citizen for a while. My biggest issue is this minigame style of mining fun after the 50th rock? What about the 200th rock? How about 10,000 fucking big rocks to little rocks later? Is it still fun then? Now I know some viewers probably know me a little bit better than others, and some of you probably have no idea who I am. So I started out with space MMOs playing EVE Online. Mining in that game is much more relaxed sort of semi-AFK type mining. You jump into a resource belt with your corporation buddies, lock onto your targeted asteroid, and fire away with the mining lasers. Congrats. Now go read a book. Watch porn. Remember that you have kids you haven't fed in 4 days. Whatever. Mining and crafting in many games is usually built as a semi-automated process. It's sort of like a chill game within the game. And I think it's been a large part of why so many people are drawn to that in games where they could otherwise be out getting into the action of things in whichever game they're playing. So my biggest concern with Star Citizen's mining is just how hands-on it really is. At what point does the rule of cool of, oh, you've got to fracture these rocks and you've got to collect them after you've fractured them, or maybe you've got to fracture them 2 times in a row and then collect them. At what point is that overstepped by the inevitable moment where something goes from being new and interesting to being dull and repetitive and just mind-droning? While I don't doubt that there are people out there who will think this gameplay loop is the best damn thing in the game, after all, Korean MMOs are a thing, and I'd rather live without internet for a year than be forced to play one of those grind hells. I think the majority of normal gamers will be interested in mining up to a certain point, and then they're going to hit that brick wall where it goes from being a really engaging, fun new mechanic to being a very repetitive, boring thing, and they're going to get turned off of mining in Star Citizen long before that prospector ever pays for itself. So let's take a look back at our checklist. Is mining in Star Citizen fun? Initially, yeah. It's a really fun new shiny for an otherwise beat to a puddle dead horse of Star Citizen Alpha. But after you've poked at the new shiny on the dead horse for a few hours, days, weeks, like I said, I know there are people out there who are going to say this is the greatest thing ever. And 1,000 hours into it, they will still love it just as much. But I think the majority of gamers and backers are going to be kind of really over mining after the newness of it all wears off. So in my opinion, this is kind of going to be a no. Now the next box is probably going to be the one that's going to trigger most of the devoted fans, especially after I just called mining in Star Citizen not fun. But for me, this is a measuring stick that I pull out on any game that I play, and I absolutely think it's critical that everyone do this for any game's features, because without it the industry stagnates. So the next challenge for Star Citizen mining, does it compete with or meet its competitors? While I might have talked about mining in EVE as my personal reference point for space mining, I don't consider EVE to be a direct competitor to Star Citizen because they're just completely different types of games. So, as many of you can probably guess, we're going to be putting Star Citizen up against Elite Dangerous. So, since everyone who sees this might not be familiar with how mining in Elite Dangerous works, mining in your ship is done only in space. There is no option for planetary ship mining in Elite like there is with Star Citizen, so kudos to Star Citizen on that one. To mine in Elite, you take any ship you own that is fitted with a mining laser, collector limpets, and a refinery, and scoot over to an asteroid belt or planetary ring. Upon arriving at said location, you then approach a floaty space rock and either survey it with prospector limpets to see what the rock is made of, or just blast it. Okay. It's still pretty similar to Star Citizen. Scan, see insides, blast rock. Now one of the first differences here is how these materials are collected. In Elite Dangerous, if you use collector limpets, these little drones automatically go out and grab any space chunks your laser makes, meaning your involvement in mining is picking which rock you want to blast and getting on with it. There's no minigame, there's no micromanagement. It's just a lot smoother and more relaxed. Now, I'm not going to hold the tediousness of Star Citizen mining against it in two categories, but it is something to bring up if CIG wants to improve. The other major difference is that Elite, on the other hand, versus Star Citizen 3.2, does have multi-crew mining, and Star Citizen, on the other hand, does not. Not that it really means much in Elite Dangerous's case either, though, because multi-crew in Elite is a shallow concept that has yet to actually have any real purpose in game. So that one isn't necessarily a negative to Star Citizen either, and to Star Citizen's credit, it does have the Orion coming up, which will add a more multi-crew aspect to mining. So yeah, I'd say Star Citizen's still just as relevant there as Elite. Now, one of the things about Star Citizen mining that I really like compared to mining in Elite is that you're a space miner. You're out there to get rocks and bring rocks back in to sell to be refined. In Elite Dangerous, you are both the miner and the refiner, and I fucking hate it. The reason I don't enjoy this in Elite is because any quantity of ore that you mine that doesn't fill up your refinery's hopper is essentially garbage. You do not create a sellable unit unless the hopper is filled up to enough quantity that your refinery can convert the raw ore into a refined unit for sale. This means you really need to be chasing specific ore rocks when mining versus Star Citizen, where you can just break whatever damn rocks you want and bring the haul back to plop it on the counter of Port Olisar and get paid no matter what the hell you brought back. And I really like that. So, in terms of our checklist, does Star Citizen mining meet or compete with the competition? In some areas, it does feel like it could be improved, but overall, I'd say Star Citizen mining is pretty well on par with Elite Dangerous. One is a much more active and about micromanaging style, while the other is a more relaxed semi-AFK mining experience. Neither one is necessarily the correct method, but I do think Elite's style of mining has a broader appeal than the constant minigame of mining in Star Citizen. But it is pre-alpha days in Star Citizen land, so things are subject to change. If you aren't happy with how mining is currently implemented, speak up about it. It's way more likely to get changed now than it will be years down the road. As far as our checklist goes, I feel like Star Citizen gets a pass on this one. So, yeah. The last checkbox is sort of a cheat question, but it's still a critical question to ask about any game's mechanics. Is this rewarding? Now, this isn't to be confused with, is this mechanic fun? Nor should you be thinking about this as, did I get paid enough per trip? Is mining in Star Citizen rewarding? If you spent an hour or 6 hours straight mining in Star Citizen, do you feel like the gameplay of mining leaves you feeling like you accomplished something with your time? Did you enjoy it? And was it worth the time you spent doing it? Will you feel that way after repeating the gameplay loop over and over? As I said, it's kind of a cheat question because honestly the answer is going to depend on the person who's responding. Where I might find a few hours of mining in Star Citizen rewarding, somebody else is definitely going to find 300 hours of this gameplay rewarding. Where I'm very certain if I spent 300 hours mining in Star Citizen, the gameplay would not be rewarding to me at all. So I encourage you to reflect on this last one for yourself. If you aren't sure if you'd enjoy mining, but you do own a game package in Star Citizen, head over to the public test server. After copying your account and downloading the client, you have access to all flyable ships in 3.2 on the PTU server. Test mining out for yourself and let me know what you guys think. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I am Failure to Report, and this has been an unhinged production, and I will see you guys next time.